There's something different about people who grew up in the 1980s. You can spot them in a room without knowing why. They don't fidget when their phone is in another room. They can sit in traffic without reaching for something. They go quiet in a way that isn't awkward, it's just full, like they're somewhere, and they're fine being there. That's not personality, that's wiring. And the world that did the wiring doesn't exist anymore. It's 1986. You're 9. You come home from school and the house is empty. Not in a sad way, in a Tuesday way. Both your parents are at work for another 3 hours. You let yourself in, pour a bowl of cereal, turn on the TV, and watch whatever's on. Because there's no whatever's on later. Nobody is coming to check on you, and you're fine. Genuinely, completely fine. Not because you're brave, because nobody told you this was supposed to be hard. So your nervous system absorbed the situation as normal. That single absorption changed everything about who you became. You learned that quiet is not a problem, that alone is not a threat, that you don't need someone in the room to feel like you exist. Researchers call this internal regulation, and most people now spend years in therapy trying to develop it. You got it for free, just from being 9 in 1986 with a key around your neck. This is why you can sit in a room today with no music, no phone, no second screen, and feel completely okay. Younger people walk into that same room and reach for something within 30 seconds. They're not weak. They were just never trained for stillness. You were. Now picture this. You want to call your friend. You pick up the phone, busy signal. You wait 20 minutes, try again, still busy. You don't know where they are. You don't know when they'll be free. You just go do something else. You spent your entire childhood not knowing things, not knowing if your friend was home, not knowing if the song you loved would come on the radio today, not knowing if the rumor at school was true until Monday, when you'd find out by reading someone's face. That not knowing built the part of you that can hear "I'll let you know" and not check your phone every 6 minutes. The part that can wait for results, wait for answers, wait for someone to call you back, and just live a regular afternoon in the meantime. The modern world has trained itself out of waiting. You weren't. And then there's the part nobody has ever named. You took 24 photos on a disposable camera at a birthday party, handed it to someone at the drugstore counter, and then you waited 2 weeks. When the envelope came back, you opened it right there in the store. Half were blurry. 1 was somebody's elbow. 3 were pure black. The picture you most wanted, the one of you and your best friend laughing at something nobody else remembers, came back as a smear of light across the corner of the frame. You couldn't go back. You couldn't retake it. The moment was simply permanently gone. You learned something at age 7 that no child has been taught since. That some things just don't get a second chance. That memory is not a file you can recover. That the universe doesn't owe you a backup copy of your own life. Younger generations grow up believing every moment is recoverable. There's always another photo, another angle, another save. Their relationship with loss is theoretical. Yours isn't. This is why you can let things go. In a way that confuses people half your age. Why you don't panic when a conversation ends without resolution. Why grief, when it finds you in adulthood, doesn't destroy you the way it seems to destroy others. You'd already met it, standing in a drugstore at age 7, looking at 24 photos and understanding that the one you wanted most was never coming back. That was an entire education in impermanence, delivered in an envelope by a stranger at a counter before you were old enough to know what was happening to you. Now, something heavier, because it was there too. There was a name on a milk carton at breakfast, a duck and cover drill at school nobody explained, a teacher rolling in a TV one Tuesday morning in 1986. And what you watched live was the Challenger exploding 73 seconds after takeoff with a teacher on board. And then you went to recess, a low hum on the news about nuclear war that adults made jokes about, but didn't turn off. You held all of that, while also riding your bike to the end of the neighborhood without a helmet and feeling like the freest creature on earth. Both of those things happened inside the same child at the same time. Psychologists have a name for the system in your body that scans for safety and threat simultaneously, and it's supposed to switch off when the danger passes. For you, it never fully did, because the danger in the 1980s wasn't sharp. It was ambient. It hummed under everything. And when something hums under your childhood, your nervous system files it as the default setting. This is why, even now, in a perfectly safe room, you sometimes feel a low thrum of something coming. Not anxiety from a specific event, just a scan that never got the all-clear signal. You weren't being dramatic. You were running the operating system you got installed during a decade that gave you freedom and quiet vigilance. In the same breath, and never told you. The two were related. And then there's the part that hurts the most. Somewhere around 3rd grade, school changed. You can't pinpoint when, but you felt it. Things started getting graded that you didn't know could be graded. Summers got structured, and doing well stopped feeling like an accomplishment and started feeling like the minimum. Not doing well felt like something else, not disappointment, a quiet verdict about who you were. In 1983, a government report declared the education system was failing. Within 3 years, standardized testing exploded. Childhood was redesigned to produce a competitive adult. You were the generation that happened to. When a child is measured, before they understand why, who they are, and how well they perform fused together, they don't easily come apart later. So watch what happens now. You accomplish something genuinely good, and underneath the pride, there's a flicker of, yeah, but you can feel proud and quietly insufficient at exactly the same time. That's not low self-esteem. That's the wiring of a generation that got scored before it agreed to be. And here's the last one, the one nobody ever says out loud. You handled it. At 9, when nobody was home. At 12, when your parents were fighting and you were reading the room. At 15, when something went wrong and you didn't even tell anyone. At 26, when the layoff came. At 38, when the marriage shifted or the parent got sick, you handled all of it. And because you were so consistently capable, nobody ever stopped to ask whether you wanted to be. This is the hidden cost of being trained too early. You become the person who can do it, then the person who has to, then the person who can't stop. Not because you're addicted to control, but because handling things stopped being something you do and became something you are. That's why you struggle to ask for help, even when you need it. Why I'm fine leaves your mouth before you've even checked. You weren't given a choice about being strong. You were handed strength before anyone asked if you were ready to carry it. So when someone tells you the world has passed you by, understand what they're saying. They're saying you're too still, too patient, too able to be alone, too willing to wait, too uninterested in being seen every second of the day. Those aren't flaws. Those are the rarest psychological assets left on the planet. Younger generations spend years and thousands of dollars trying to develop what you had by age 11. The ability to sit in silence and not feel like something is wrong. The ability to be unreachable and not feel like you've gone missing. The ability to fix something with your hands instead of opening a tab. You weren't trained for this loud, always-on world. You were trained for the one underneath it, the one that's still there. When the battery dies, when the signal drops, when the feed stops moving. That's not being behind. That's being the only one in the room who still knows the way back. You didn't grow up in the 1980s. You were built in the 1980s, and nothing they've invented since has been able to take that out of you.